What's up, people? Listen, we're excited because this is another episode of Young and Married. I don't know where you are, what's going on, but we're talking about the word I love you and how that is a factor, or maybe not as much of a factor in marriage, because we've been married 17 years, and you're probably wondering, man, they look so young.
Yeah.
How are they married 17 years? We got married really, really young, and we have learned a thing or two about marriage. And we've come to realize that the word I love you, there's more to marriage than that, right?
Yep.
And I think that the word I love you has become such a easy phrase. It's just thrown around frivolously. But what does it really mean when you say I love you? And so we want to talk about today how the word or the phrase I love you, there's more to marriage than that. So I think the phrase I love you is dangerous. I really think it's dangerous. And perhaps we're not taking into account how much it really means when we say to someone, I love you. Because when you're saying the phrase, I love you, there's more than that. Like, your actions have to line up with your words.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the thing about the phrase I love you, this may come as a shock to some people, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret in our marriage.
Yeah.
And that secret is, to be honest, we actually don't say I love you every day.
You don't.
We don't say I love you every day. Now, it's not something that we came up with as a rule, trying to be different.
Right.
And said, you know what, in this marriage, we're not going to say it. And it really didn't even fall from a bad habit, because it's not like we've gone through a period in our marriage that I can recall where we ever felt like I don't love this person anymore. But I think when we were going through premarital counseling, one of the best pieces of advice we ever received from our premarital counselors was the fact that every day try to outdo the other person.
Right.
Because if you do that, then both parties are always trying to think about the other person and be considerate. And so what happened is, every marriage is different. Some marriages, maybe that's important that both parties hear it every day. But for us, we realized that you can become so much in a habit of saying I love you, but still actually neglect your spouse.
Absolutely.
And I thought about the scripture that comes to mind immediately is the scripture in the Bible that says, greater love hath no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his friends.
Right.
And so we know that Jesus obviously paid the ultimate sacrifice by laying down his life for us. But when it comes to your marriage, I believe the greatest form of displaying your love is to lay down your life for your spouse. Right. Not necessarily literally, because we all want our spouses in the land of the living.
Okay. I hope so.
I would hope so.
I hope so.
If that's not how you feel, you definitely need to subscribe to this channel and get our book, shameless plug.
Yeah.
But laying down your life for your spouse as it relates to sacrificing for them, putting their needs above your needs, not only supporting your goals, but supporting their goals, their vision, listening to their ideas. And so I thought about how we've heard this phrase before, that love is not just a noun.
Yeah.
Love is a verb.
Absolutely.
And I think you can get into danger zone if you become a married couple that focuses so much on making sure that it's said, that causing you to not take time to make sure that it's shown?
Absolutely, because what do you really mean when you say I love you? Everybody means something different when they say I love you.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, let's just get down to the foundational level and let's get real with this thing because everybody means something different. What is love to me is not love to someone else.
Right.
Their level of love only goes so far. Some people's love is very extensive. It's very wide. It goes beyond barriers.
Yep.
It's sacrificial. And so if you're going to do this thing called marriage well,
Yeah.
you have to quickly define, does their version of love fill the void in your life and meet the need that you have?
Right.
Because you can be dating somebody and they're like, I love you, I love you, I love you. But they're not showing the level of love that you demand. Well, you don't need to be like, you don't love me. Like, don't come for people. I think sometimes we're judging others' level of love and we're like, hey, they really don't love me. Nah, they do.
Yeah.
But their definition of love is quite different than your definition of love.
Yeah, and I think that's true because even in friendships, I tell people all the time, if you judge how much I love you as a friend by how much I call you during the week,
I ain't calling you.
you're going to think I don't love you. And I'm not the friend that says we can never talk on the phone. You
Yeah.
communicate with your friends at some point. But honestly, I have so much going on in my life and they're good things, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a wife. I'm a mom to 2 kids. I pastor alongside my husband. I have a business on the side. I mean, we just have so many things that we're juggling that if my friendship and my love for you has to be proven by the fact that I speak to you multiple times a week, then you've misjudged how much I love you.
Right.
And you've also not given me a chance to kind of meet you halfway, because if you're the friend that's like, but Jen, I need some phone calls, then maybe how we meet in the middle is I do call you sometimes, and then you meet me in the middle by saying, but Jen, I understand it won't be every week.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes all we're focused on is how much we want to be loved, that we don't hear the other person talk about how they also need to be loved. Because I think there does have to be a meeting in the middle.
Yeah.
You know, like that's why you have the love languages.
Yep.
But I just think it has to be a meeting in the middle. And that's why saying it, that's why I love that concept of the love languages, because saying it is not necessarily enough. If you're a person that loves acts of service and all your spouse gives you is a verbal I love you, you are not going to have your love tank filled.
Right, because I don't need you to say I love you every day. I don't need to hear it. I need to feel it.
Yeah.
I need to see it, but I don't really need to hear it like that, because for me, love is more of an action word.
Yeah.
And so because people have different definitions of love, it's very dangerous to use that term
Yeah.
if you're not going to give them the type of love that they actually need.
Yeah.
And so one of my things about love, though, is that we need to wrap our heads around the idea that love is not enough. Love is absolutely not enough. I think on the surface level, love should be enough, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
Because if your love doesn't flow to the level of need, it doesn't meet that need,
Right.
then it's absolutely not enough. I think a lot of couples run into problems because they're like, I love you, but they're not willing to sacrifice
Yeah.
and go the extra mile. So two people, they're in a marriage, they're together, they reach a barrier, a wall in their marriage, and they really love each other,
Right.
but they're not willing to bend enough for the other person. That's when love is like not enough. That's when love doesn't really cut it.
Yeah.
Because I love you, but the question is, do I love you enough to change for you? Do I love you enough to alter who I am
Right.
in order to meet who you need me to be?
Right.
There's this idea, this notion, we've mentioned it before, that you don't let anybody change you. I think love absolutely will change you because
good.
love will push you to the limits of your life and say, I will have to change who I am to a certain degree in order to meet that person's need to show them how much I love them.
Well, Christ's love changes us.
Yeah.
The only reason why our love doesn't change him is because God doesn't need changing.
Yeah.
But Christ's love, when we embrace it, it actually changes us. And our love for Christ also changes us.
Yeah.
Because if you truly love Christ, there's something in you that says, I love you so much, God, that I want to change for you.
Yeah.
I want to be better for you. I want to be more accommodating, God, to what you need and what you want from me. And so I see what you're saying about in marriage, the same holds true, that if you love somebody enough, it's not just enough to say I love you or to even feel the emotion of love, but something has to come out of that love. And while you don't change who you are in terms of you shouldn't have to change your likes and dislikes, and you shouldn't have to try to pretend to be something that God did not call you to be, but it should want you to say, you know what, I could have a better attitude towards this area in life. I could have a better attitude towards finances.
Right.
I could have a better attitude and not have such a quick temper. You should love that person enough, because you're right. If love was all it took to make a marriage work, there wouldn't be as much divorce as there is in and outside of the church today. But because love is not enough and saying I love you is not enough, when neither party is willing to get better, when neither party is willing to listen, when neither party is willing to effectively communicate, then you start to go into areas where you find that you may love the person even though you're not communicating well.
Right.
You may love the person even though you're not willing to listen to them.
Right.
You may love the person, but that's when love's not enough.
Yeah. So we're going to play this game.
Oh, I didn't know we were playing.
All right, y'all. And it's going to be off the top of our heads, because that's how we do it here on Young and Married. And I think it's going to be powerful. We're going to take the word love and we're going to make it an acronym. And these are the 4 characteristics of love that we think you're going to need to have, okay, in order for love to be everything it needs to be, and for it to be this dangerous word that is actually precious and important in your marriage. So I'm going to go first, all right?
Okay.
So I'm going to take the letter L.
All right.
All right. To me, love is all about loyalty.
Okay.
Like, you can't say you love me and you're not loyal.
Right. Absolutely.
Let's stop right there. Let's pause and let's refresh this thing, because if you love me, you're going to have to be loyal. And you're going to have to ride this thing out through all the hills and the valleys, all the bumps and the bruises. I need loyalty. So when people throw around the word love, my question is, are you loyal though?
Right.
Are you loyal?
That's a good
because
one.
you can miss me with the word love if you're not going to be loyal.
Absolutely.
In fact, I'd rather you be loyal than for you to use the word or overuse the word love.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I need you to be loyal. And how we express love in many areas and facets of our lives and all these different relationships really comes down to loyalty. How I show my mom that I love her is that, that's my mom. I've been loyal since I came out the womb.
Right.
Right? Some people say they love their mom, but they're not loyal to her.
That's good.
They're not loyal to her. So I think when we talk about love in the confines of relationships, hey, check the level of loyalty. If they're not being loyal, if they're double-minded, if they have a wandering eye, if they consistently value others above you, I'm not sure it's real love.
Right. Absolutely.
And they're struggling with loyalty. So, I think this is a pretty cool game. And I think it's dope. And I wanted to talk about loyalty there. I also wanted to give you a chance to come up with an O.
Oh, okay. So we're not each doing each letter. Okay.
No, what letter you want to do?
No, I just thought it was you're going through. That's why I was like, why is he spending so much time on L? I didn't get a chance to say
It's
L.
your turn. I'm passing you the rock.
I'm passing you O?
Right. So I'm gonna do
See, he
L.
didn't even explain the rules of the game.
This is dope though. I'm gonna do L.
Oh, okay.
You
So
gonna
I'm
do
doing O.
right? I'll take V. V gonna be difficult,
All right.
and you can do E. You want to give us your L real quick?
Yeah, but I'm not going to take as long a spiel because I'm.
She trying to say I was talking too much.
No, but I mean, listen. No, but my L was just going to be learning because I think if you love someone, you have to always be willing to learn.
Right.
Learn more about you, but also learn more about them.
Dope. That's dope.
So for O, I was going to say offended less because I didn't know how else to get offense in there.
Yeah.
But I chose that because I think if you are going to be married successfully and if you want longevity to your marriage, you have to be willing to be offended less. If you're a person that I think some people almost enjoy living in a state of offense. But if you enjoy living in a state of offense, you're not going to be married long. Or if you're married long, it's not going to be a joyful and a peaceful marriage.
Right.
Because people who live in a state of offense, everything is, oh, they meant to hurt me. They meant to ridicule me. They meant to make me feel bad. They meant to, and you feel like you are never also the offender.
Yeah.
Your marriage isn't going to be peaceful
That's
because
dope.
every time you talk to your spouse, you're going to be talking from a place of anger.
Yeah.
You're going to be talking from a place of woe is me.
Yeah.
You're going to be talking from a place of self-pity. And the Bible talks about us not living in a state of offense. God doesn't want us to forget that sometimes we also do the offending.
Yeah.
And so if you can make up in your mind and say, I love my spouse enough that I'm going to make a conscious effort to be offended less, doesn't mean that you'll never be offended. Spouses are going to disagree. Your spouse is going to say something you don't like.
Yeah.
But if your mindset overall is I'm going to be offended less, then there will be times when they may say something or do something you don't understand. And maybe instead of it blowing up into a big argument or altercation, maybe you could just let that one roll off your back.
That's good.
Be offended less.
You need to be offended less if this gonna work.
Yeah.
I really like that because the more you're offended is the more difficult it is to live with you.
Exactly.
And to make it through because you just out here always offended and you're carrying all this bitterness
Right.
from like 3 months ago because you still
Absolutely.
offended.
Correct.
I love that.
Yep.
I love that. All right, I'm gonna take V. So we had L, we had O. I'm gonna do V. I was like thinking of two different words. I was gonna do vernacular,
Oh.
but it's a big word. It really just has to do with how you speak the vernacular vocabulary, the language. But we did talk about love being more than just what you say. So I'm gonna use the word voice.
Oh. Okay.
Love speaks. Love has a voice, and any relationship that is gonna suffocate your voice is a relationship that doesn't have love.
Oh, that's good.
And I listen, I think that we have to be careful here because there are certain relationships, certain marriages out there where people are submerging or they're being hesitant in their voice. They don't want to say certain things because they know it's going to offend their spouse. They don't want to bring certain things up because they know it's going to cause a problem.
Right.
So they actually don't speak up. They hold it in. They don't use their voice. And I think it's very powerful for you to have a voice
That's good.
in a relationship that you consider love to be at the center. I'm also thinking about on both sides of the spectrum that the voice should be in equilibrium, right? It should be a balanced voice. So let's take a man who has a dominating voice in the
Right.
relationship. He has to be careful that his voice doesn't dominate decisions
Right.
in a way that it's not a partnership. He has to be careful that his voice doesn't dominate to the point that it can turn abusive.
That's good.
So there's different spectrums.
Yeah.
There's different polarities on the spectrum of voice. And so whether you're an extreme introvert and you're not using your voice, or you're too demonstrative and you're overusing your voice.
good.
We need to be careful
Yeah.
about how we use our voice in what we call love.
That's good.
This is next book.
All right.
The next book.
So for E, I'm going to go with eradicate equality.
Let's go.
Because if you believe that love means that everything in your marriage is lined up equally, then your marriage is not going to be successful. Because in relationships, things have to be fair, but not equal. So if I say in my marriage, I will love Mark so long as he does certain household tasks at the rate at which I do them.
Yeah.
And he says, I will love Jen so long as she does certain household tasks at the rate at which he does them.
Yeah.
Our marriage is going to be a disaster because now you're counting up what you do, what they do, and then you're putting it on a scale to say, do they weigh the same?
Yeah.
And both of us, I believe, carry certain tasks in our home more than the other person, but it's fair. It's just not equal.
Right.
I do most of the cooking, but that's fair because I actually like to do it.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm pretty good at it. But you actually take the lead on finances just because it comes more natural to you than it does to me.
Right.
I know how to balance a checkbook. I know what bills we need to pay, but it comes more natural for you to just make sure stuff's on a schedule and we go on that way. But if somebody were to say, oh, Jen, Mark doesn't love you because he's handling the finances. He handles them, he doesn't control them.
Let's go.
So he doesn't deny me access to our finances. He doesn't look over my shoulder with every little purchase that I make because he's expecting that if I know how much we have in our budget for groceries or for clothes, or he's expecting and trusting me not to go over that budget. Just like I don't stand over him when he's doing certain tasks.
Right.
I'm trusting that he knows what he's doing. And so that's why I wanted to say eradicate equality, meaning eradicate the mindset that a successful marriage is an equal marriage. A successful marriage is a fair marriage.
Yeah.
Because in our relationship with Christ, things are fair, but they're not equal.
Absolutely
Because
not.
what we do for God will never be more than or even the same amount as what he does for us.
Absolutely.
But it's fair because he says it's fair, so it's fair.
Yeah.
But it's not equal. He's always going to outlove me, outfavor me, outbless me more than I could ever, outthank him or outworship him or outserve him. So if you're looking for your relationship to be equal, wrong mindset.
Ain't gonna happen. I like that. Getting rid of equality, as you said, eradicating equality is really important because I just feel like we want everything to be equal today.
Yeah.
It can't be. It can't be because God created us uniquely different.
Correct.
And I like that way to say it, uniquely different, not just different, but uniquely different.
Right.
And that's what happens in marriage. And that's why you can't look at somebody else's marriage and be like, oh, their marriage has to match my marriage.
Correct.
If they say, I love you every day to their spouse, then how come you're not doing that? And it's amazing how we can compare marriages and say, because their definition of love is not our definition, somehow we need to strive to have their definition. And we don't even want it. It's just because we've seen it.
Right.
We're like, oh yeah, you need to say I love you 10 times before you leave.
Right.
But you don't even want it, and it fades in a week because it's not you.
Right.
So we don't have to be equal in our partnership. We don't have to be equal with another marriage. Love is so unique. That's why we say it's the most dangerous word
Yeah.
in marriage. It is potentially the most dangerous aspect of marriage because it holds everything.
Absolutely.
It encompasses everything. So I think that's cool. You have anything else you want to say about love before we get up out of here?
Just that we're not saying you can't say I love you to your spouse every day. Maybe your spouse needs those words of affirmation, But we are saying just don't get so caught up in saying it that it becomes mundane and it's something to just check off your list instead of doing the work that it takes to show your love.
Yeah.
Because some people just don't want to do the work. We just want to say, it's kind of like when people say the best way to say I'm sorry is to change your behavior. Because sometimes somebody will do something that they know upsets you or isn't healthy for you. And after you express to them, hey, this isn't good for me, this doesn't serve me well, and they say, I'm sorry, but if they continue to repeat the behavior, then the person on the receiving end starts to say, I don't think you're sorry. I think you're just saying it to get through this argument or to get through this awkward moment. But I loved when I saw a meme that said the best way to say I'm sorry is to change your behavior. So I want to just leave people with the best way to say I love you is to exhibit it through your behavior.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You just want to display it. And so I just wanted to say this, because as you were talking, this kind of came to my mind. I think that the word love or I love you, that phrase is so dangerous because it's manipulative if it's used in certain contexts. What I mean by that is sometimes, for instance, a girl, a lady may not have seen the best expression of love growing up. And so she is vulnerable to the phrase, I love you. And if she didn't have a relationship with her father or whatever the case may be, she may run into a man that is able to manipulate her heart with the word, I love you, with the word love, with the phrase, I love you, because she hasn't had a good experience with that word. That's why it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so critical to understand everything when we say love, when we say I love you, and we should just be mindful of that. This has been a really good one.
I think so.
Yeah, you want to close it out?
All right.
Yeah, get us out of here.
Well, what I will say then to get us out of here is that if you are young and married, meaning you're either young in terms of how long you've been married, you're young because of your age, or you just want to keep your marriage young and fun, then you need to click this link to get a copy of our book. Couples have been raving about it. It hit bestseller in Christian marriage within the first 24 hours of us launching it. You need to get the book. It's got practice questions in there for you to help your love grow. And I know that that book is going to help you not just say I love you, but show I love you. That's how I'm going to close us out.
That's good. That's good. Well, this has been another episode of Young and Married, and we will catch you next time. Until then, take care.